Great. Can everyone hear me? Welcome, and happy to see that it's not just my own team that is here. I've got like at least 5 other visitors, and I'm gonna do this talk for you guys. My name is Tabitha Gerrits. I am one of the directors of Advanced Insight, and I'm gonna take you on a little trip to Africa today. Ghana and Uganda, so buckle up. We're gonna talk a bit about agriculture, opportunities in Africa, obviously Odoo, and traceability. Traceability will be the magic word of this talk. But before we fly off, let me tell you two or three things about Advanced Insight that may be relevant to know. First of all, we won the Best Partner Africa Award yesterday, so cheers to that team over there. And it was for the second time in a row, so it must be that they're doing something good. And they are actually. We're best partner in Kenya. We have successfully implemented over 50 projects by now. We have a wonderful team of 14 consultants and developers. And Africa is really the market that we thrive on and that we love to support with Odoo implementations. We're based in the Netherlands, in Kenya and Rwanda. And if you want to know more, team is right there. They can tell you a ton about what we do and how we do it. The green countries is where we have implemented one or more projects. And on the right, you can see the different sectors where we're active. It's a lot, but the one that is really close to our heart and that we started with is agriculture. And that's going to be the focus of today's topic. Now buckle up, because I'm going to take you to Uganda. And not just any place, but the biggest farmer market that I have ever been to, and it's also the biggest in East Africa. It's called Money Harvest, so the farmers are coming there to also, not just sell their stuff, but also find investors. And it attracts more than 20,000 farmers. 20,000 smallholder farmers owning up to half an acre, 3 acres, 6 acres. Representing not the 20,000, but the farmer community in Uganda consists of 70% of the households. So the majority of people earns their income farming. That's why it attracts also so many visitors. It was already the 7th edition, and I was invited. I was able to talk a little bit about IT there. I had a very captivated audience, and I tried to tell them a little bit about Odoo. Everybody was interested. But one of the things that struck me during my one-on-one conversations with these farmers is that, first of all, they export a lot to Europe, not individually, but as collected in cooperatives. But they are not aware of many of the EU regulations that are above their heads. Not just above their heads, but also the middlemen and the bigger importers, exporters. There's very few people that I met that know what is coming, and I actually wonder if you know what is coming, but I'll tell you. There's a couple of voluntary certifications that you might already be aware of, such as UTZ certified, Rainforest Alliance. It's voluntary. If you prove that you have not cut a forest or that you do not use children in your labor, then those are one of the few criteria that you need to meet to get that voluntary certification. But there's also a couple of mandatory ones that have started this year, and that will be rolled out in the near future. Let me focus on the bottom 2. The EU deforestation regulation that went into effect, or was supposed to go into effect this year. Yesterday in the Dutch newspaper I read that they want to postpone it because nobody is ready for this. Because what does it mean? You as an importer or exporter need to be able to prove that your commodities have not caused any deforestation. And not yesterday, but up to 5 years back. So that's a massive implication. That's not even the most severe one. The most severe one is upcoming. That's the corporate sustainability due diligence duty, which will go into effect in 2027 and will take 2 years to roll out. That will be a regulation that all larger companies with 1,000 staff members or more need to abide by. And basically you need to prove that you do not have a negative impact on the environment, on your labor force. You need to proactively prove that you're not guilty. The farmers in Uganda had no idea. Obviously, they're all the way at the end of the chain. I mean, they are supplying to cooperatives, the cooperatives to bigger cooperatives, and in the end, it's Mars or Rittersport that buys the cacao and turns it into beautiful chocolates that we buy. But that entire value chain will be impacted, making the link between us here and our clients in Africa a little bit shorter maybe than you even thought. And the opportunity for IT, for digitalization, even bigger than you maybe thought. Zooming out from Uganda to Africa. Africa has over 33 million smallholder farmers, and I think that's a conservative estimate. They are the ones growing your coffee, your cacao, your tea, your palm oil. They are the ones supplying us with all of that in Europe. That's a massive market. The EU is also a very big export market, a lot bigger than actually I thought. For Uganda, it was the second biggest export market, and that is just one out of many countries. The awareness of new regulation is limited so far. And the impact is massive, because if you look at the sheet behind me, you see that 10 sectors are impacted. It's rubber, paper, wood, meat, leather, coffee, cacao, coconuts. All of these sectors will be impacted. They need to abide by these regulations that not a lot of people are aware of yet. Now let me take you to Ghana, West Africa, where we have a wonderful client called Cocoa Abrabopa. Cocoa Abrabopa, or CAA for short. They work with some of these smallholder farmers, about 8,000 of them. They are member of the association. They supply to the association, and they're being supported with training and also with certification, because CAA is Rainforest Alliance certified, and that means that the farmers that are a member of CAA get a little bit more money for their cacao, because it's in the end Mars and Rittersport that buy the cacao. CAA was experiencing quite a few challenges before we came on board, because they basically collected their data on paper, and they had to collect data from 8,000 farmers and had to make sure that all these 8,000 farmers were meeting all the criteria they needed to meet to stay Rainforest Alliance certified. And if only one farmer would not be compliant, it would affect an entire project region. So if one farmer was found not compliant, the entire project region would lose the license. And then you were not able to export to the EU anymore. You were not able to supply Mars and Rittersport anymore. So the impact was massive. All of that on paper. Well, not great. That's why the implementation of Odoo obviously meant a great deal to them. So that's what we started with. We started implementing Odoo, the basics: finance, sales, purchase, inventory. But to enable them also to track all their interactions with their outgrowers, 8,000 in total, we built something on top of Odoo, which we call the Outgrower Management System. The Outgrower Management System, or OMS for short, helps track any interaction possible with these outgrowers: training, certification, contracts. 21 surveys annually need to be performed for all 8,000 smallholders to prove that they are still applying or abiding to the regulation and criteria of the Rainforest Alliance. So we digitized it. But maybe, I don't know how many of you traveled to East or West Africa, by raise of hands? Yeah, of course. Have you always experienced connectivity where you were? Did you go up north, remote? Did you go to the areas where these farmers are? There's no connectivity. So there you are with Odoo, beautiful, available on tablet, phone, everything, but no connectivity. So what are you going to do? So we connected it. We integrated Odoo with a third-party software called Kobo Toolbox that a lot of organizations that work in Sub-Saharan Africa use. That enables you to do your surveys offline. You do your survey, you collect your data, your GPS, you go back to the big city, and it syncs with Odoo. That integration enabled the sync. So we also made that integration, and we made another integration that's quite relevant for our type clients, and that's with mobile money. Not everybody has bank accounts in Africa. Actually, a lot of people do not have it, but they have a phone, and they can pay with their phone. So those were a couple of integrations that were relevant for the market and that really made life a lot easier. Now, what does it look like? This is the environment of Odoo. This is the very first step. In January every year, CAA goes into the field with more than 70 data collectors, and they start registering the farmers that are eligible that year. They start registering the farmers, taking pictures, they need to sign, and they even have someone that walks around the plot of land, taking GPS locations to create these beautiful polygons. This is all available in the Odoo database. The data is collected, as said, with Kobo, but it syncs straight into Odoo. And in the end, once all the 8,000 farmers are registered, they have all this data. The hectares are created, the acreage is calculated automatically. And thanks to that calculation, CAA is then also able to tell Mars and Rittersport how much they expect to be able to deliver. So that's all beautiful. Once all the farmers are registered, the season, the cocoa season, actually starts in October. So that started like 3 days ago. That's when all the action starts happening, because the farmers, they come with their cacao beans and they deliver them to so-called collector sheds. So 8,000 farmers drop their bags, 64 kg per bag, I believe. They drop it off in a collector shed. There's around 700 in the country where they can drop it off. Anywhere between 1 bag or 10 bags. And when they drop it, they get a receipt. And that receipt gets a unique lot number. The lot number is provided by Odoo. This lot number, extremely important, because this is the number that's going to be traced all the way up to Mars and Rittersport. So all the way down the end of the chain, this lot number will follow. The next step, because it's going from smaller places to bigger places, after the collector shed, the next step is that a big truck collects various bags, anywhere between 300 and 400, and brings it to a warehouse, of which there are 120 around the country. Once it's delivered there, that's when the first quality check happens. So they check it for moist, they check it for Ivo, what else do they check it for? Temperature, quality. That's the first check. And only if it's qualified, it will travel on to the port. There's 3 ports. So in any of these 3 ports, that's where all these bags will end up. And this lot number is still the unique number that can be traced. And every sequential travel, they get another unique number on top of it, so that you can trace everything back to the farmer that initially delivered his 3, 4, 5 bags in the first step of the process. At the port, this is where the final check takes place. And once it's approved, it's delivered. These bags end up in the port in Amsterdam, because that's where Mars and Rittersport offtake it. So the big container go all the way to Amsterdam, and in this container you have all the bags with all their unique numbers, and it can be traced all the way back to that individual, one of these 8,000 individual farmers that supplied it. At any part in the process, you can download a full traceability report. And this is a little bit what it looks like. You can filter the data per season, per farmer, per collector shed, per goods receipt note. The filtering options are endless, and any step in the process can this report be drawn. So in the end, I mean, it's CAA that owns the database. Cocoa Rabopa owns the database, but they can deliver this report to Mars, to Rittersport, and it can be fully traced back, which is wonderful, because that's what they wanna, that's what they need to see, that's what they want to see, to be able to guarantee that their cocoa really comes from certified farmers. Oh, this is what the report looks like. Very detailed. Farmer name, how much did they deliver, the unique number, which collector shed did they deliver it to. Obviously the report is many, many pages long. This is just a fragment out of it. So in short, what you see here in the top bottom, that's what we made traceable. All the way from the first farmer to the port. The bottom line is what we have not made traceable yet, but the first half we made traceable. Farmers, go to, wow, it's a little bit small even for me. 8,000 farmers go to 700 collector sheds, end up in 120 warehouses, end up in 3 ports, end up eventually in Amsterdam and in our supermarkets around Europe. Zooming out a little bit, because Cocoa Abrabopa is just one of our clients. We've done this for at least 8 more, and on top of the 8,000 smallholder farmers that CAA reaches, I think in total we mapped out 55,000 farmers at the moment. Which sounds a lot, but it's honestly, it is nothing. We are just scratching the surface. We are just scratching the surface, because remember, there's 33 million. So we haven't even touched 1%. Not even 0.5%. This traceability, however, is a humongous need. Because remember the mandatory regulation that I spoke about at the very start of this speech? All these goods, not just cacao, also coffee, palm oil, rubber, paper, leather, meat, everything needs to be able to be traced back at some point. So the opportunity or the challenge also provides a humongous opportunity. To wrap it off, or to come to my closing. We would love it if it's not just Mars and Rittersport that have access to the technology to trace their goods back. Because remember, it's not just Mars and Rittersport that are players in this market. All these 33 million farmers, they don't have a direct linkage to the big importers or exporters. They are organized in associations similar to CAA, similar to Cocoa Abrabopa. And these associations, they don't have a lot at the moment. They don't have a lot of technology at their available for them to help them with this traceability. We would love it if the outgrower management tool that we developed and that is being paid for by the big guys, if it would also become available, if that type of IT would also become available to the smaller suppliers, to the smaller aggregators, to the smaller middlemen. So maybe in the end, we have a little bit of a similar ambition that Odoo also had when they made Odoo Community. It would be wonderful if, in addition to the paid version that the bigger guys can pay for, if it's also smaller companies having access to technology like that, maybe a community version. And maybe that is an invitation that we want to extend to all of you out here. If there's people that want to think along with us how we can grab this massive challenge, turn it into an opportunity, and make it available to so many more organizations and so many more farmers out there. 33 million. That is the market we're talking about. So if you want to join us, our team is right here. Like, exchange your business card, share your experience, hear about their experience. We'd love to connect. We have an office in the Netherlands. We have an office in Kenya, so it doesn't really matter where you're based. We can always reach out and talk to you. Yeah, I hope we can make IT available to anybody out there. And make sure that these farmers, this is actually one of the farmers I met on the farmers market, that they can keep exporting to Europe and that they will not be excluded simply because they cannot access IT. Because that would be discrimination on a whole new level, and that's what we want to try to avoid. Happy to answer any of your questions. This is the, well, you can scan it, I believe. Then the questions will end up with our lovely Odoo team on my left, and any difficult questions I will refer straight to my team over here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha. Thank you for your presentation. So people are already writing down some question for you.
Fantastic.
I already have one. In your opinion, what is the main challenge in adapting Odoo to African market?
Well, connectivity is one. I mean, not all our clients are active in regions where they have access to Wi-Fi all the time. and that's why we had to come up with something. Actually, we started developing an offline tool for Odoo until we tried out Kobo Toolbox with CAA, and actually it worked so well for them that we paused the development of that offline tool for Odoo, because the connection with with Kobo Toolbox was good, and Kobo Toolbox is just a tool out there, so no need to reinvent the wheel. So that's one challenge that we managed to tackle, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Another one. Do you help farmers with commodity codes on their products?
Do we help farmers? Sorry, with what?
With commodity codes on their products.
Commodity codes.
Yeah.
Can you explain that? Whoever the question came from, yeah. Is it possible to give him the mic?
Yeah, I will try.
Ivo, can you listen to this one?
So I don't know if it is really relevant to ask question, but if the product that is developed by the farmer, if it has an international code, like in international trade, where we put a code on a certain commodity. So I hope my
I'm not sure if it answers your question, but every commodity, and the commodities that we talk about are cacao beans, coffee beans, like raw commodities. They get a lot number, but it's provided by Odoo. And then that lot number is used to create bigger batches, new numbers. And Ivo, am I saying anything? Am I forgetting anything here? Ivo was the one that implemented this project, so the guy with the purple cap, look for him. He can tell you a lot more than I can.
Perfect, thank you. What aspects do you consider before you go to a certain African country?
That's a nice question. Well, first of all, do you have a market? It's always handy to have an entry point. It's also handy to know a little bit about the sector that you wanna address or that you wanna service in that country. To tell you about our journey, how we came to all the countries that I showed in the very beginning. We were invited. Someone approached us with a request that we felt we were able to tackle. And that's how we entered the market that we entered. Myself, I lived in Kenya for a good number of years. My fellow director, Dao, he lived in Uganda and in Cameroon for a good number of years. So that's where we started. And then it gradually grew from there. And we have now a wonderful base in Kenya, Rwanda, and the Netherlands. It just grew organically. I mean, we went where the opportunities went that we wanted to tackle. We did not say yes to everything because we didn't feel we were the best partner for everything. But the opportunities that we said yes to, we thought, yeah, this is something that fits in our street, that we know, sectors that we understand. We think we can add value. And that's how we've been growing, actually, very naturally.
Perfect. We have another question about the Odoo offline, but you already answered during your other answer. So I think we are done with the questions. Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody also.
Thank you.